On Missing Live today, an urgent appeal for 15-year-old Zoe missing for a week.
All the clues show that she's out there. Can you help us find her today?
Hello, good morning. This is Missing Live, and we have some good news to start today's programme.
Regular viewers will remember that last week we appealed for your help to find 15-year-old Rebecca Duncan. She went missing from a home in Wandsworth in London on March the 20th. Yesterday, after nearly 3 weeks, she was found safe and well. More on that later.
Yes, that's great news and very encouraging to the desperately worried family of Zoe Budoo. She's also 15 and left home a week ago. That story coming up next.
Also, in today's programme, we'll be talking more about teen runaways with Radio 1's Scott Mills. He's involved with the Runaway helpline and he's with us live.
Right now, though, that urgent case of a teenage girl, 15-year-old Zoe Budoo, has been missing from her home in Barnet in North London since March the 31st, and her mum is really worried. She's 5'6", she's slim, with brown eyes and straight black hair. Now, police have been looking at emails and they followed a lead to an older man named James in Sheffield, but that trail has gone cold. She has some cash with her and her mobile phone, but the police and her parents are very concerned for her well-being. If you know where Zoe might be, please call us urgently. The number is on your screen right now. And Zoe, also, if you are watching, please let your family know that you're safe. You can call the Runaway helpline in confidence. That number is 0808 800 70 70, or you can text them on 80234.
DI John Cracknell from the Met Police is leading the search for Zoe. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what's the latest on the case?
Well, Zoe rang her friend Abigail yesterday at midday. She said she was fine, well. Abigail said she sounded tired, but that was about it. And it was a very short call and the phone was turned off.
OK. We know that there's possible Sheffield connection. So what do we know about that? Was that where the call was made?
No, that wasn't made from there. We've made inquiries in the Sheffield area and that's now been eliminated.
OK. Do you think this girl's in danger?
She's 15-year-old. We're concerned for her welfare. She hasn't got access to a bank account. Her money's going to be running out if it hasn't run out, and we are concerned for her welfare.
I mean, she's got to be very vulnerable as 15, her age, if nothing else.
Indeed, yes, and her family are concerned.
Yeah, of course. Now, we've got some pictures of this young lady. These are the most recent pictures that we've got, and these, you believe, are a good likeness of her, as she may well look now.
Yes, we obtained them from her friends yesterday.
OK. The mobile phone's been quite a crucial link so far in this investigation, hasn't it, with the inquiries you've been doing around that?
It has been, yes, and we've been trying to trace it. It's been turned off, and she failed to contact her family since Thursday last week. She's now been in touch with friends, as I say, midday yesterday. So.
And did she give any indication as to where she was when she called the friends?
We have no idea at all where she is at the moment. We believe she's in the London area. The last time we've seen her on CCTV footage was getting off a 101 bus in Wanstead High Street, Friday at 4:30 p.m.
OK. Very quickly, she's not in any trouble, is she?
She's not in any trouble. We just want her to contact her family and show she's well.
OK. Thank you very much for joining us. And, of course, if you have any idea where Zoe might be, then please call us. There's great concern for her safety. People are standing by right now to take your calls, and the number is 0500 700 700.
Our first film today is the story of a young man with a busy social life, a loving family and lots of friends. Why did he simply disappear? Anthony Donnellan's been missing since October 1995. He spent a lot of time around Notting Hill in West London, where he rented a flat. It's January 2009, over 13 years since Anthony disappeared. His sister Dolores and niece have come back here to continue searching for him.
This area was where my brother Tony lived for many years. Notting Hill Gate tube station was Tony used, I'd say, at least once, if not maybe twice a day sometimes. The area itself is where he worked as well for many years.
Even though it's been over a decade since Anthony was last seen, he was well known in the area and knew a lot of people. He'd had a number of jobs managing bars and restaurants. His sister is hoping someone remembers him.
Hi, my name is Dolores Donnellan, and my brother Tony used to work here. He worked here for about 3 years, so I'm just going around to where he used to work, and in case anyone might remember him or anything. And I wonder, would you maybe put a poster up for me? Yeah, that man there, yes.
The Donnellan family is from Clare in Western Ireland. Anthony has 6 brothers and sisters, and they grew up on a farm.
We're a family of 7 children. I'm the youngest, and Tony was next in line. We were very close, all of us. We always played out on the farm as kids. We all helped each other on the farm. As my dad, we all had our chores to do, and yeah, life was always good fun. Tony was very fun-loving, caring, very considerate. He always looked out for everyone. Because I was younger than him, he always looked out for me.
In 1986, Anthony decided to leave home to find work.
In the late 80s, there was a recession in Ireland, so a lot of Irish people moved to London, and Tony was one of them, and my sisters as well lived in London for some time. And then I myself moved to London in the 1990, because I was the youngest. I was the last to leave.
He settled into London quickly, but there was another reason he left Ireland to start a new life.
Tony is gay, and he came out when he moved to London. Maybe he was able to face the reality of who he was, and because in Ireland it wasn't accept, especially out in the countryside where we're from, rural. It was very small-minded people, unfortunately.
For about 7 years, Anthony lived around Notting Hill, close to his sisters and the Irish community. In 1993, he moved to South London with a couple of friends. He still saw a lot of Dolores. On a Saturday evening in October 1995, they arranged a night out at the cinema together.
We always met up outside the Haagen-Dazs ice cream place in Leicester Square. That was like our meeting place. And so we met there, and then we went into Leicester Square movie theatre, and we watched Braveheart. That night he put me in a taxi, and he was very like that, very protective. He'd see me off first in a taxi before he'd get his bus or whatever way he was going home. And that was it. And I waved goodbye to him, and I said, right, Tony, I'll see you during the week.
Anthony went home back to Camberwell that night. A week later, Dolores got a call.
On the Sunday night, a phone call came from a mutual friend of ours, Frank. He's from Donegal, and he said, Tony hasn't been seen for a few days. And I said, what do you mean, Frank? I'm on the phone to him, and he goes, well, Peter and Miles, this is Tony's flatmates in Camberwell, had rang Frank saying, we haven't seen Tony since Thursday.
Coming up, in the search for Anthony, police follow a lead to London's West End. Will someone here recognise him?
We're trying to find a chap that went missing. He always frequented this area.
And we'll have more on the search for Anthony later in the programme. With me now is Terry Blythe from the charity Missing People. Morning to you. And good news to start with this morning about Rebecca Duncan.
Yeah,
just tell us
great
what
news.
happened.
Well, it seems that she'd been staying with a friend and she's come back of her own accord, so we know she's safe and well, and obviously that's really pleasing, because obviously at that young age, vulnerability, any runaways, we're really concerned about.
And we can't say much more because of course, the confidentiality of it as well.
That's right. I mean, with all young people, as soon as they're found, so long as we know they're safe and well, confidentiality of any issues stays with them, and we're just really pleased with that result.
Well, that's excellent news. David Wallace, now he's been missing from Plymouth in Devon since 2008. Have you had a few calls?
Yeah, we have. We've had a number of potential sightings on David, all over the country, some more recent than others, including the Midlands, South West. So 4 potential sightings in total from him. Obviously, we'll pass those to police.
OK, we were talking about him yesterday. Also, Maurice Jones, now we thought was on the way to Birmingham, wasn't he, to a model train exhibition?
That's right, yeah. We featured him last week, and it's quite out of character for him him to be going missing because he phoned family, once a week. So there obviously a lot of concern for him. It's been a long time now. But we have had 6 potential sightings on him, some quite recent. Even, strange things, people think he might have been on a different TV programme, different areas of the country, possibly Wales. So again, more detail that we need to look into those and pass.
OK, more updates from you later, Terry. Thanks for the moment. And if you can help with any of our investigations, call us on the number that's showing now. It's 0500 700 700. Calls from most landlines are free, but some networks, especially mobiles, may be considerably more.
Right now, we're appealing again for information about Diane Fallon and her daughter Holly, who's 10. Diane's described as being thin, 5'5" tall, with short, straight brown hair. Holly's slim, with long brown hair and green eyes. They were last seen at home in Crombury in Ayrshire at 7:30 on Saturday, March the 28th. That was 10 days ago, and police say they're now gravely concerned for their well-being and safety. Their disappearance has been widely reported in the media, but so far there have been no confirmed sightings of the pair. They're not in a car, so wherever they've gone, they're likely to have used public transport. So if you have any idea where Diane and Holly might be, then one call could help the investigation. People are standing by to take the calls, and the number is 0500 700 700.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, we featured the story of Carmel Fenech, a teenager who went missing in 1998. We had a terrific response and some very promising leads, but we still need more help, and this might jog your memory.
Things began to go wrong for Carmel Fenech when she started at secondary school in South London.
She was bullied and picked on and called names. Carmel's way through that was to become the class clown.
By 13, she was running away from home.
She was gone for 2 days, and I start looking for her.
Deirdre was losing control of her teenage daughter.
She's trying to get out the door, and I'm holding her back in, and the second I turned my back, gone.
She was horrified to discover the real reason for Carmel's behaviour.
I'm talking to people that know her, friends that she used to hang around. I think she's still associating with these same people, and she's not. She hasn't, hung around with these people for months. And they're going, I don't know how to tell you this, but she's taking drugs. She's really involved with a bad crowd.
At just 14 years old, Carmel was addicted to crack cocaine. Deirdre knew she had to get her away from bad influences in South London. The family moved 30 miles away to Crawley in West Sussex. Things immediately seemed to get better.
She really did try. She made that effort, to try and make me happy and say, yeah, this is going to work, Mum. I know you've done this for me.
But by the age of 16, Carmel started disappearing again. She was going back to London and getting into trouble.
She'd be arrested for something, for shoplifting or whatever. And I had to go to London, pick her up, bring her home, and this was the pattern now.
On the 28th of May 1998, she disappeared.
Spent the next week hunting for her. Up and down, back and forth to London. Telephone calls, nothing, no sign of her at all.
Deirdre reported Carmel missing again, but this time she never came home. It's over a decade since she disappeared. DCI Steve Johns of Sussex Police is continuing the search for her in South London.
When she went missing, she was 16 years old, and that was 10 years ago. Would you mind putting a poster in your shop window?
By all means. By all
Okay,
means. We can help you much as we can. So.
And maybe somebody might have some information for us. We had 1 or 2 reports of her soon after she went missing in 1998, but there's been nothing really since then.
If you know something about that, so we'll let you know about this number.
Yeah.
Thank you very
All
much
right.
again.
Cheers.
God bless.
Thanks.
Thank you,
First few years, I was absolutely traumatic. I couldn't sleep. We miss her so much. We do miss her so much. She brightens her room when she walks in. She does.
Well, with me now is Radio 1's Scott Mills, who's involved with the Runaway helpline. Morning to you. Thanks for coming in to see us.
No problem.
Just tell us about the helpline. What does it do and how are you involved in it?
OK, well, for Comic Relief, about a month ago, I went to visit the charity Missing People, and the Runaway helpline is just one of the services that they offer.
And quite good for young people because they can. It's a confidential service, isn't
Yes,
it?
24 hours.
And then they can text as well. So is that a good way of communicating, do you think, with teenagers?
The thing is, I think with teenagers who have run away, I would say they're probably more likely to text than to pick up the phone and speak to somebody. And you can do that, and you know, then someone can get in contact with you via text and get you to a place of safety.
And I know you've been there. Are you particularly struck by any particular cases?
There was one, the first text that ever came into the Runaway text service was just from a guy called Sam, and it just said one word, it just said help. And that was the first one they got, and from that they can, you know, just from one text, from one word, they can do the rest.
That is quite desperate, isn't it? A lot of people who go missing are teenage runaways. Do you think there's a particular type?
I think, well, I know that most of them are between 13 and 15. I wouldn't say there's any particular type. I just think that generally it's because of a conflict with a parent or a step-parent or a family member, and they just feel they need to get away.
It's interesting as well, because today particularly we're talking about teenage runaways. What would you're a Radio 1 DJ, what would your message be to people who are watching who are perhaps not calling home?
I would just say, you know, just call the helpline, email, text, and just because people, you've seen it on the screen already, like people, family, it's just devastating for them. So just one small text just to let them know you're okay would be what I would say.
And what about families as well? Because we know of runaways as well tend to go missing often, or some of them do, are repeat runaways.
Yes.
So how do you think we can deal with that, and us as well can deal with that?
I just think that, you know, they just need to get to a place of safety, and I think that anything that the society can do or we can do, and particularly this helpline is fantastic.
OK, and what about yourself? You're involved. Why do you choose missing people, and why do people like you help, do you think?
I think anything that I can do to raise awareness with young people because of my job on Radio 1 is a fantastic thing. And like I said, I went to visit this charity. I didn't really know much about it beforehand. About a month ago as a Comic Relief project, because some funding from Comic Relief goes to them. And I was just blown away. But it was a morning where I just came away thinking, wow, you know, they do such good work. So I just wanted to come on and...
Also interesting as well, because you, with music, as well on different level, perhaps, rather than parents, can reach young people too.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, it can. And I think that a lot of the people who may be in this situation will listen to Radio 1, and that's why I wanted to kind of be involved.
Fantastic. Well, let's hope they are. Let's hope they can use that text number as well. And thank you very much for joining us. That helpline number, again, is 0808 800 70 70, and to text, it's 80234.
There are 100,000 runaways every year. Have a look at some of the teenagers we've featured since the start of the series who are still missing. 15-year-old Tresina Wyatt.
Hoy Van Boy, who's just 14.
Alexandra Kulikowska, whose 16th birthday is this week.
Andrew Gosden, who's now 15.
Tessa Stevens, who is 14.
17-year-old Jordan Radcliffe.
And 14-year-old Danielle Hubble. And of course, if you recognise any of those teenagers, call missing people now. The number's on your screen. Right, but Terry, what's been coming in on the phones?
Well, through previous cases, Kay Hawke, for example, she's the lady missing since December 2006 from Cornwall. She went with her car as well, which people might remember. We've had a few calls about her, 3 leads, but very different areas of the country, so it's difficult to link them at the moment. But one caller, for example, thinks they see her every day, so obviously we'll be looking into that one. Yeah.
OK. It's encouraging, at least. Anything else?
Yes, Paul Reed, he's the builder from Surrey who has been missing since July last year. Again, a few calls from him, nothing much to link them either, but 3 potential new sightings. We've got 26 potential sightings in total from this programme, so that's really good. And they range from a couple of months ago to a couple of weeks ago, so lots of different things there.
Quick description there of Paul. He's 48 years old, 5'8" tall, stocky build, and he's got cropped ginger-coloured hair, so it's worth keeping a lookout for him. Anyone else we got?
Yeah, another one, Damien Tudge. He's missing from Kidderminster, also with his Peugeot, the Peugeot 205, which we featured. Again, people might, see or recognise his car as well as him, so we asked them to keep their eyes out for that. It's missing since November last year. One caller actually thinks they've seen Damien in the last few days in the Hereford area, the Hereford side of the Malvern Hills, actually. So obviously police are looking into that one. They're following that one up with quite a lot of interest.
Too far from where he's gone missing from. So again, that's quite encouraging. All right, Terry, thank you for now. And that number to call if you think you can help with any of our appeals today is 0500 700 700.
Back now to the story of Anthony Donnellan, the young Irishman who's been missing since 1995. He'd been to the cinema in London's West End with his sister Dolores and had arranged to see her again shortly. But just days later, Anthony walked out of his house and didn't come back. His flatmates reported him missing.
The first few months were a nightmare, just trying to deal with it. The initial fact that, hey, Tony's missing, was like I couldn't accept it. And we went to everywhere possibly that we thought where he used to hang out, his friends, and nobody had any idea, no clues.
29-year-old Anthony's disappearance was a complete mystery. He'd left all his belongings behind. It's now 13 years on, and his sister Dolores lives abroad. Today, she's back in London with her niece to meet the officer who's taken over the investigation.
I know with the missing persons unit, the file is forever opened until the person is found. And so this is the file that will always be left open for Anthony. Yeah.
Basically what I do with Anthony is do regular checks. So every couple of months normally. I'll redo all the checks again, voters as well, so you can check whether or not he's voting anywhere. Is there anywhere you can think of that Anthony liked to go in London? Or friends that he would visit, or areas?
Well, he loved the West End theatres, as he loved going in there. All the different restaurants he worked in, all the people he knew working in restaurants and bars.
Knowing that Anthony spent a lot of time in London's Theatreland, PC Verney heads out to the West End.
We're at Shaftesbury Avenue now, where all the theatres are. So we're just going to go down here, hand some missing posters out of Anthony. These posters, I've got a picture on of what he looked like on the day he went missing and what he would look like now. Excuse me, can I just hand one of these to you? We're trying to find a chap that went missing 14 years ago. We're looking for this chap here. He used to come up to this area a lot and go to the theatre.
PC Verney is hopeful that the posters could possibly jog someone's memory. Dolores and the family back in Ireland wait for news.
It's so strange for him just to walk out from his flat door, as in to walk out from his flat and as he just walked into the crowd. There's so many questions I'd love to be able to get answers. He was so part of our family, and we all love him so much. And if he could hear this message, or if anyone knows him that hears this or sees this, it's just to tell him that we want him back. We want him back so much.
And with me now is PC Mandy Verney, who we saw in that film, who's taken over from the case now. So what's the latest, Mandy?
Basically, Rav, we've been going over the case, revisiting everything that was done 13 and a half years, trying to make contact with all his friends and just going over the case again.
Because you've taken over now, haven't you? Someone else
Yes.
was originally investigated, but you've taken over and you're reviewing everything.
Reviewing everything, seeing if there's anything that we've missed, seeing if any new evidence that we can get as to where Anthony may have gone.
OK, and we've seen you've been quite proactive. You've gone out, you're doing the posters and the leaflets out in the West End where you used to frequent.
That's right. Terry from Missing People did an age progression picture of Anthony of what he would look like now.
Because that must be one of the things you're up against. It's a case that's 13 years old, so he's going to have aged at least somewhat.
That's right.
I think we can see that age progression now, actually, and this is how he may well look like something similar to that today, because when he went missing, he was in his 20s, so now he'd be in his 40s. And we can see there the shot that he may well look something like that, so that could jog some memories. Going back to when he actually went, is there anything to suggest that he wanted to leave?
Not at all. As Dolores on the film has already said, he was fun-loving, he worked hard, he played hard, basically. That's how she's described him to me. He had a new job. He got a promotion within Harvey Nichols. He was due to start that. He'd also was going to move to a new flat in Maida Vale. He was planning to go over and see his parents, a surprise visit to Ireland. There was no reason for him to go at all, Rev.
In fact, it does seem out of the blue. Well, I hope that the pictures or the reconstruction will jog some memories and that people do call in. Thank you for joining us today, Mandy.
Thank you.
If you can help, then please call Missing People in complete confidence. Their number is 0500 700 700. I'll give you that number again. It's 0500 700 700.
Now, if you were watching Missing Live last year, you might remember the story of James Nutley, who disappeared on a lads' golfing weekend in Tenby. Well, James is still missing. I'll be talking to his mum and dad, Catherine and Jeff, in just a moment. First, though, a reminder of that story. James Nutley from Monmouthshire is 25 and a sports fanatic. On October the 24th, 2004, he travelled to Tenby in South Wales with a group of his closest friends on a golfing holiday. After spending the evening with them in some local pubs, James left alone at midnight to walk back to his hotel. The next day, he was nowhere to be seen. His friends reported him missing.
Been straight to the police station. Told him, look, he is missing now. We are very, very concerned, and we just all got into all our little groups, and did our own searches around the beaches, around the hotels. Just having a look around. We went along the front, which is right by our hotel. Went down the steps and bumped into a policeman there. And he actually found some of James's cards. I think it was something like his membership card, his golf membership card, that kind of thing, which were all in on the beach. I think a little boy or someone found and handed it to the police.
Why were James's bank cards on the beach? Had he been mugged or dropped his wallet? His friends can't make sense of it.
I think a few of us can really contain our emotions. We got quite upset, especially when he showed us his cards, and we kind of obviously thought the worst then.
But finding the cards doesn't give them any answers. They still have no idea what happened to James that night. The police need more definite evidence. They turn to Tenby's network of CCTV cameras.
In cases like this, we study the CCTV of the town cameras and also pubs and clubs and the such like. I've gone through all the CCTV with the family, or one of my colleagues has, and they study the CCTV of the Atlantic Hotel, which is to my left here, and they are of the opinion that they saw James crossing here, crossing the road towards the Atlantic Hotel. And as you can see behind us, the Gilter Hotel where James is staying is literally a stone's throw from us.
Despite the poor quality of this footage, James's parents are convinced the man recorded on the Esplanade at midnight is their son, still wearing the distinctive white top he'd been seen in earlier that night. But if this is James, what happens to him next? 2 days later, the police decide to call in a sniffer dog unit to help look for clues.
The dog did pick up a scent further up the road behind me, followed that scent down towards this area where we got as far as what's called, to my left here, is what's called the Col d'Allen display. And this is really where the scent ended. As you can see, the railings take us to, it's quite a sheer drop.
The dogs can't find any more clues. so the emergency services launch a full-scale search of the area.
We deployed auxiliary coast guards and utilised them to search this area from the railings here up as far as the hotel to the sort of footpaths that take you down to the beach the other end of here.
It was quite a shocking night, really. I can remember sitting on the seat outside the hotel just watching the helicopters and the boats going across, and you're thinking, like, you know, you see these things but you just don't think it'll ever happen to somebody that you were with.
The massive air, land and sea operation searches every square metre of the area. If James has fallen from the cliff top near the hotel, some evidence will surely be found. But 2 days later, there are no further clues and the search is called off. His friends have to make the difficult decision to leave Tenby. They go home without James.
When we got into the car to leave and I was sat in the back again and James wasn't there, it was just awful, the ride home. Because it's 2 hours of just silence, really, and it was awful.
In the weeks that follow, the emergency services continue to search, but there are no clues and nothing that leads them to James. He's been missing for 4.5 years and there have been no sightings since the night he disappeared.
On cases like this, we've got to keep an open mind. As I say, that the trail ended just to the right of us, but there is no explanation as to what's happened to James. Obviously, in my role, I've spent a lot of time with the family, and so there is hard evidence to the contrary. Then they have to hold out the beliefs that James is alive and well.
For everyone involved, the questions that the CCTV can't answer remain extremely difficult.
He wasn't in the nightclub that long with them. He was in there a quarter of an hour, but it only took him about 20 minutes altogether, going in the club and out and getting back to the hotel door. So what happened to him in that 30 yards is an absolute mystery. Yeah.
Well, joining me now are James's mum and dad, Catherine and Jeff. Thanks very much for coming to talk to us. I know we saw a lot there about the police searches. You've done a lot yourselves, haven't you? Tell me what you've done.
We had a lot of posters done. We've handed them out. The people of Tenby have been absolutely marvellous. And of course, thanks to your programme as well, you know, the fact that James is missing is now getting out to people.
And you go to Tenby a lot, don't you?
We do, twice, 3 times a year. Birthday, August 16, and October. And when we get the feeling to go, we get like drawn down, off we go.
It's quite a mystery as well. Just to explain to us about the cards, because the cards were found on the beach and there was quite bad weather, so it seems quite mysterious how they got there, doesn't it?
Yep, that particular night, well, it was the early hours of the morning. Apparently there was a force 8 gale, etc., and high tide was at 6 o'clock. So we always think that it is a mystery, the fact that these few small cards, and you know what these, like your driving licence is like, were just sort of left on the beach.
And did he ever talk about wanting to go away or anything like that?
Well, the last thing he'd actually spoken about was buying a house, believe it or not. And we always said, well, James, the way you spend money, can you afford it?
It's quite a shocking.
Was it? He's a great golfer and he worked for a golfing company as well, didn't he?
Well, he was junior captain at Justo Golf Club, junior county captain for Gwent, played a lot of golf. And he could have got through life playing golf and going racing. And that was Willie James. That was all he needed, really. Still did.
He enjoyed meeting people.
And with his golf, he travelled quite a lot, so I presume he would have known quite lots of different parts of the country.
Well, he used to, well, part of his job was visiting golf clubs, and he had in June been to Tenby Golf Club, and he did play there regularly, because the weekend he was away, they had gone for the past 14 years as youngsters and as adults going there, and this was the regular sort of half-term weekend away.
Now, he's been missing since 2004, and you still think about him every day?
Oh, it's difficult. And I think it's worse. I think it's harder now than when he went. It's difficult to cope, you know, every day.
Because in the beginning, you've always, you know, there is hope. There's always hope. But in the beginning, you think, yes, he's going to turn up. But the longer it goes, and as the missing people say, the longer it goes, the harder it is for them to say, I'm coming home.
Yeah. And tell me, you're wearing his tie today,
Yeah,
so what's your message for him if he's out there watching you then?
Oh, if you're out there, James, please come home or get in touch. Would be the word, I think.
Yeah. Also, as well, just what can the public do to help? What can the people watching you, do you think, do? I mean, I know the people of Tenby have really helped, but what would you say to people? What they should look out for?
Well, from your last programme, there were a few phone calls which the police did follow up. They said it gave them a new line of inquiry, but led nowhere. But, I mean, if you think James is out there, well, please give a ring.
Absolutely. OK, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to see us today. Think really hard. Were you around Tenby on the weekend of October the 24th, 2004, when the weather was really rough? Or perhaps you've seen James since? The number to call, as always, is 0500 700 700.
A trivial family dispute drags on, and before they know it, it's more than 20 years since they've spoken. But then two sisters start to put things right. Margaret hasn't seen her younger sister Maxine for nearly 25 years.
I was married with children. She was a teenager wanting to do her thing, and I think that's really the main thing, that, you know, that she went her way, we went our way.
Margaret and Ray brought up their own family, but she always thought about her little sister. Last year, she started researching her family tree.
It took me to a list of different names, and Maxine Jones was one of them. I just felt in the pit of my stomach, I thought, I'm sure that's our Maxine. I'm positive that's our Maxine.
Margaret contacted Maxine straight away.
I'd never forgiven myself. I hadn't emailed her. And I thought, I can't lose anything. I'm not going to lose anything if it isn't her. If she doesn't want to speak, fair enough.
I got an email saying, are you my sister? And it was from my oldest sister, Margaret. And it was a shock, to say the least. And I emailed back saying, yes, I am. And we've been in contact by phone ever since.
After nearly a quarter of a century apart, and now living a long way from each other, the sisters quickly made plans to be reunited.
We should never have left her for so long. I can't wait to see her.
It's a big day for the two sisters.
Maxine is coming to see us for the first time in over 20 years.
It's a 150-mile trip from Maxine's house in Darlington, North Yorkshire, to Margaret's in Chester.
I was about 15, 16 last time she seen me. It's going to be strange for Margaret as well to know that her little sister is now a mum. The boys have now grown up. They were young children last time I seen them, and they've grown up. And one's got a child of his own and is married now. So I think it's a bit strange for us all, actually.
I'm shaking all over. I'm excited and nervous, but I think it'll go okay. You are. You are. It's great.
The sisters have a lot of catching up to do.
Oh, morning to you both. They're both here, Maxine and Margaret. Thanks very much for joining us. Are you more nervous today?
Yes.
No, don't be silly. Amazing story. What was it like when you met again after these 20 years?
Nervous. It was nerve-wracking, yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why were you nervous?
What do you say to somebody after 20 years?
Just the reaction, really.
Yeah, what was going to happen, yeah.
So what did you talk about then?
Everything, because I had no children last time. I wasn't even married. So Margaret sort of met my children, well, my daughter for the first time.
She went with you, didn't she?
Yeah, and she's 14. So from seeing me as a 16-year-old all the way coming up to an adult with children and married, it was just amazing.
How difficult was it to find her? Because you did a lot of research, didn't you?
Yeah.
Was it hard to do that?
Well, I was looking, you know, on the internet, and I came across Maxine Jones, and I thought, well, I wonder, because she had the same people that I was looking for. So I said to my husband, I'm going to email her and see if it's her or not. And I asked her, I said, are you my sister?
After 20 years, what prompted you to suddenly start looking for her?
My youngest son, his wife, and my grandson. I done it for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you've now met her grandson?
No,
not yet.
No,
Oh, really?
They live in Devon.
Oh, fantastic. So there's still more family
Hopefully
to meet.
the 18th of this month.
Brilliant. And you're still looking, aren't you? Tell me what you're doing. Is it you're looking?
Yes.
Who are you looking for now?
We're both looking now, but I've been looking for about 16 years now for my dad's sister. I found virtually all of them, all bar one.
Right.
And she's managed to evade us at the moment. Her name's Doris.
Yeah.
Because of the story of Dad being abandoned when he was a young teenager with his 6-year-old sister in the centre of Scotland. And we think his other sister was abandoned somewhere in London, possibly Feltham area.
So she's called Doris.
Yeah.
What else do you know about her? How old is she?
Her name's Doris Valerie Roberts. Well, that's what she was born. Her mother's name was Phyllis Sabina Bullen, and her father's name was Charles Roberts. She was born in 1925 on in East Cowes.
Okay, so lots of details there. If there are people out there who have lost contact, what would you say to them? What would your advice be? Is it a good thing to go and do?
It's brilliant. Just keep doing it.
I think we can tell by your smile. Thank you so much for coming to see us and telling us your story. That's fantastic. And we'd love to hear from you as well. If you've been reunited with someone missing from your life, our email is missing.live@bbc.co.uk. And if you'd like to write to us as well, our postal address is Missing Live, PO Box 63814, London 1N1 1HF.
We're almost out of time, so here's a reminder of some of the cases that we still need your help with today. Our first appeal this morning is for information for Zoe Budoo. She's 15, lives in Barnet, North London. We've had a call on her today already.
Excellent. Young Irishman Anthony Donnellan has been missing for 14 years. This is what he might look like now.
Terry said there's a call coming on him as well. Another call has come in on Carmel Fenech too. Went missing in 1998. She had connections with Peckham and Crawley, and she may also now be a mum.
Diane Fallon and her daughter Holly went missing from their home in Ayrshire 10 days ago. Do you know where they are?
And finally, James Nutley, the young man who disappeared on a boys' golfing weekend in Wales in 2004. His mum and dad were with us earlier and can't rest until they know that he's safe.
Yes, the number to call for any of today's appeals is 0500 700 700, and you've been emailing us as well.
Yeah, actually, the Runaway helpline has been really busy today, Terry's telling me. Lots of young people phoning up for advice before they go missing, which is really good because they can talk to the professionals and stop that happening.
And that's completely confidential. And one email about this lady, Andrea, was adopted. She's been reunited with her brother after 61 years after he messaged her daughter on Genes Reunited. Both had been searching for each other and they finally met in 2007. This is lovely, at Andrea's daughter's wedding. They're happily in regular contact.
Excellent. We're here tomorrow at the same time and we'll be telling you the latest on all our appeals so far. And whilst we've been on air this morning, actually, we've heard some great news from the Met Police on one of the cases we've appealed for a number of times.
Yes. Teenager Alexandra Kulikowska has been found. She was picked up in North London late last night. She's now with police and parents are just being told we wish them all really well.
Yeah, it's her 16th birthday today. Tell me more about that tomorrow.
We will.
See you then.
Bye-bye.